All right, so we continue our Bible study series tonight. This is the second to last session. We've got one more next week as we've been looking at different good character traits and values. Every week we've been looking at Bible verses that guide and speak to that character trait or that value to guide us. And we've been using the example of the World War II Army medic, Desmond Doss. Tonight we'll be talking about the character trait, the value of faith. The value of faith. What it means, what it does, how it is shown, how it is felt. The video will, as it often does, kind of define this character trait and this moral value in one way, but I'm interested first in hearing how you would define what does faith mean? What does the word mean, or what does it mean to have it in your life? What is faith? I'll shout out the easy answer so no one else can. By quoting the New Testament verse, faith is to be sure of what you hope for and the evidence of things unseen. So there you go, you can't use that one. Yes, come on.
Normally I put my foot in my mouth, so I might as well continue.
Go for it.
I lost my one-day job, and for a minute I was a little worried. And then I said to myself, well, God is always taking care of me so far, so I'm sure He will. And then out of the blue, I get one person that wants a pussycat painting done, and like, yes, money coming in again. So, and in the most unexpected ways, and people are, all kinds of ways to help me. People that want gardening and things like that, helping me now to make a vegetable garden. I've always done flowers, but now that, so it is like, that was never on my thought. But so, I think I had faith it became okay, and it was. So, that's my faith.
Oh, that's lovely. So what I hear you saying is faith can be a belief that God is there and is looking out for you, taking care of you, and also that good people are out there and they help and support us.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's very good. Yeah.
Trust.
Trust.
And that's what.
Mm-hmm.
Just
So trust in what? Trust how so? What's that a trust in?
trust in God. Trust in that He'll take care of things for you. Sometimes that's hard. But
Everything has a purpose.
don't let things go.
A trust that everything has a purpose, that God is looking out for you.
I think it's, because that's a huge question, but it is a belief in the Creator, belief in God that is love, gives hope and grace and forgiveness, and a God that doesn't have any boundaries on who that's extended to. He is inclusive, and that He's always available, however we refer to God, and our Lord is there for us, and part of that is us to really believe that He is, and that He loves us, and wants us to extend that love.
That's a great definition. That amount of grace, its depth and width, is indeed an amazing amount to cover every single person forever, no matter who or what or how we have been. That the grace is so comprehensive that it is there. Yeah. Although I am going to push back a little bit on there's a purpose for everything. I might say there's a blessing that can come from everything. And so sometimes like the lesson or the blessing kind of depends on how we can have faith to make the most of that opportunity with God's help a little bit. Sometimes bad things just happen. Like sometimes like fires just burn your house down. So I want to make that distinction.
Well, yeah,
Is that okay?
Yeah, what you learn from.
Yeah. to kind of make the purpose out of it.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yeah.
If you're going through a hard time, keep going.
Ooh, that's well said.
Mhm.
Yeah, keep going. Yeah, yeah. Because no matter what, you'll be better off if you can keep going, hard as that is. Yeah. Well, yeah, Ms. Miller.
And to back up what Bill said, it reminds me of the scripture, when you've done all you can do, stand, put on the whole armor of God, he'll take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep on.
Yeah, yeah. Keep on.
Because it's out of our hands, and we have to trust. And when we get to that point, all we have is Jesus, and that's all we need.
And that's a neat facet of faith, that it's not a faith in ourselves, that the best we can do is just to show up and be ourselves, but for any kind of true, deep, long-lasting success or thriving or overcoming, that's where the faith in God and the Holy Spirit's movement comes in. So if we, like, all we can do is just stand and be ourselves, or kind of move and go through and be ourselves, and have faith that God is at work. There is a God at work. Well, we've seen in our video examples that indeed Desmond Doss had a lot of faith. And what you'll hear in an interview, the radio operator in his company said that any man who's willing to go into war without a weapon, he's going to have a lot of faith. And that would be very true. I don't know if I would have that amount. I might need a little something myself. So we'll see tonight, it does kind of center around scenes in the Battle of Okinawa, and we'll watch Desmond Doss demonstrate his faith on that brutal battlefield. He repeatedly ran into bullets firing, ran into bombs exploding. His energy level seemed to increase the more he worked instead of decrease, because he would pray over and over again, Lord, help me get one more. Help me help one more person. So it was his faith that drove him to keep going. It sustained him, and it even inspired other soldiers who didn't practice a faith at all to be inspired. So I've got some handout thoughts for you to take home and think about. You can read them tonight and think about them, or right now or later. Thoughts on faith that kind of get you thinking about your faith in your life. Brian, can you give one to everybody? So nice and quiet and hand them out. Miss Teresa can help you if you need some help. So the video that we will watch tonight is about 20 minutes. We'll see some new clips that we haven't seen before, a few clips that we have seen before, but for the ones that you have, just be thinking, what do they have to do with faith? How do the actions that we're seeing connect with or are inspired by faith? And also, as we continue, start thinking about how faith is connected to all the other values and character traits that we talked about. So, as always, these scenes do depict war and combat. There is injury and blood and intense situations. Especially tonight, there's one scene in the middle of the video during the Battle of Okinawa where Desmond treats a soldier who got both of his legs blown off. So that gets a little rough. If rough movie scenes are hard for you, feel free to look away, or if you want to take a break in the hallway, no worries at all. And for anybody who is watching and participating from home, at this point, the camera is looking at our chart here, both so that you can see the chart and so that I can avoid the copyright infringements that I've been incurring the last few weeks. So I'll put a link in the video description below that will take you directly to this video that you can watch yourself. All right, people watching from home, welcome back. If you didn't jump down and click on the video link to watch that video yourself, do that now and then come back and find us. So one of the things the video used to describe how faith is connected to our lives and our behavior and our values, it called it the arch principle. It said that at the top of an arch is a keystone right in the middle that is different from all the other bricks and pieces that lead up to it. And that's what gives strength to the arch and support to the whole structure. It's essential because it holds all the other pieces together. If you take out the keystone, then the whole thing would just fall in on itself. The video described faith as Desmond Doss's keystone, as the thing that held everything else together for him. So the video said, faith in his God was the true north of his life and being, the compass point that led every part of his life and hopes. Faith was the core value upon which all other things were calibrated. Which is a really interesting way to think about faith's role in all of our decisions and outlook. The value upon which all other things are calibrated. So not only did it talk about, like I drew a little arch with a keystone over on the left there, but if faith is like the calibration tool, I kind of imagined it was kind of like the hub of spokes where everything else connects and is able to get grounded, and almost kind of like an electrical current that comes out of faith and orders everything else. So those were interesting kind of visual pictures to imagine how faith can work in our lives. There's another image that I've always thought and I've used to talk about faith. I can't remember if I've used it in a Bible study for us before. I've definitely used it for our youth last year when I was teaching Sunday school. When I think about faith, I think about this right here, that a strong, healthy, solid faith is built on two columns, like two pylons. One is action on the outside, so what you're doing, how it's demonstrated, are you doing good things? The other pylon, the other column is belief on the inside. Do you hold to good and moral beliefs on the inside? You have to have both to have a strong and healthy faith. If you only have one and not so much the other, then you'll be off kilter. Like right here, I don't know if you can see it, but if a person had this setup where they had a lot of beliefs inside their heart, but they had very, very little actions to show for it, didn't demonstrate any faith at all, then I call that the Pharisee setup. The Pharisees had a whole lot of religious thoughts in their head, but outside their actions displayed no Christ-like imitation in the slightest. So that's not a healthy faith. Nor is this. If you have all the good actions in the world and you're serving people, you're just WWJDing the heck out of every day, and you're just doing great things, but you're kind of empty on the inside, then you will feel that emptiness. If you don't kind of have the belief on the inside that a healthy faith involves, then you'll always kind of have like a yearning or a questioning or a uncertainty, and you'll feel kind of unsteady because it's not steady. Also, even if your actions and your beliefs are equal height, but they're just really tiny, then, well, that's not very strong either. It can't maintain the weight of the challenges that life will bring. But everybody's got to start somewhere, so this is, kind of where kids start. Kids are starting, they're kind of learning on the inside, they're practicing to be good on the outside. So that's a very good lowercase faith for starting out. You got to start somewhere. And then the goal is to build up equal and steady and strong. I also liked, near the end of the video, how it mentioned that having a healthy faith has an impact on other people. And the video said, the keystone of unwavering faith gave Desmond the steady strength to care for others without being panicked for himself. His faith gave him a calmness. He wasn't anxious. I mean, he moved fast because he had to, but he wasn't panicked. So then his fellow soldiers, their panic was changed and lessened by his courage and calmness. Just how anxiety is contagious. I'm really worried about something. Here, you give to somebody else. And, oh no, now they've caught the anxiety. No, I'm really worried about something. You can do that. Or the peace and calmness of faith can spread as well. When you are steady and calm, it has an effect on other people. So like his captain there at the end said, half of these men don't believe the same thing you do, but they believe so much in how much you believe, and they want a piece of it. And I really like that. That's the effect that we can have on people, even if we don't even know it, even if we're not even trying to have that effect. Having a healthy faith will naturally lead us to inspire others. That's when we let our faith lead us to use us. It can lead us to earn people's deepest respect. But on the flip side, if we misuse our faith, then we will cause people's deepest pain. That's how powerful it is. A healthy faith can inspire people's deepest respect. But if we misuse our faith, it can cause people's deepest pain. And churches are always, sadly, really good at doing that. Many people think faith only equals believing certain things, like right there. That's all that you need to have faith. But it's not. If this is a person, if this is their setup, all they have is thoughts inside. They just have thoughts and opinions inside. So a lot of people will have a lot of religious thoughts and belief on the inside, but then the way that they act and they treat other people does not reflect Jesus' values, which is one huge reason that people have stopped going to church these days, because churches do a great job of hurting people and running them off. So people just stop coming, because why put up with that? I'd rather just sleep in on a Sunday. Which has terrible effects for multiple reasons. First, that habit destroys the Christian church from the inside, as it just decays in the inside, and it then gives a bad, though accurate, reputation on the outside. Also, we're talking about the importance of faith tonight. Every person has a natural, spiritual yearning to practice a faith. And you can see that in every civilization for all time. Like before there was reading and writing, humans do that naturally. Like humans, people, we yearn to connect with something bigger, even if we don't yet know what it is, and no one has told us some of that good news. So when Christian churches choose to act in ways that hurts and pushes people out, then what are those people to do? They're just standing outside. What are they going to do with that need and that yearning? So that's what has been really surprising and amazing to me. Like when a person feels a call to ministry, they go to seminary, they kind of train and study how to be a good minister in a church. Something that did not occur to me at that young, naive, empty-headed age that I was way back then was how often I have the same conversation with people who have been pushed away from church because of other Christians. It's the same conversation over and over. Every person has a natural pull to connect with the Creator, but when Christians show them that churches just aren't very nice places and they leave, then it leaves that person with an unmet yearning and they don't know what to do. Everyone needs to have a faith and to practice it to connect with the Creator. So what do? And then when they run into me and they find out, you do what? Your job is a what? What? And they see that I am not like one of the Pharisees, they have so many questions. And the stories they tell are so sad of what Christians have done and said to them, which led them to reject or be rejected by the church. And usually it's the church where they came from, the church that told them what God is and what faith is. So when they feel rejected by or they reject the church, they wrongly assume that they then have to give up on God, give up on having any relationship with God, the Creator, and give up even on having faith at all. My ministry for anybody in the world has always been to help every person grow and deepen their faith. So when Christians convince someone to not have any, it gets a little tricky for me, but I welcome a good challenge. Showing the love and welcome of Jesus Christ, the grace that comes with it, is what's transformative. So big surprise, the answer is Jesus. How should we go about? Well, the answer is Jesus. If you can just imitate, follow the example of, show the love and grace of Jesus, that's it. And that really is it. There's no magic words. I don't have any magic words, abracadabra, here's someone's faith restored. Just demonstrate the love of Jesus instead of the judgment of the Pharisees. And you watch people's eyes open and you can feel their hearts soften after they've been hurt so much by churches in the past. It's a humbling moment to be a part of, to watch and feel someone's heart soften as it's like seeing the little buds of faith kind of poke up out of the soul in their heart. It's an amazing moment to be a part of. I hope that you can be part of nurturing those kind of faith buds to grow in people, because everybody needs it. Everybody needs it and has that yearning. So to guide us, let's look at some Bible verses on how important faith is and how it plays a part in our lives. And since we don't have to end our discussion immediately at 6:59 for choir practice tonight, I won't feel the need to rush or talk quite as fast, just a little bit fast because I get excited. So first let's read Isaiah chapter 40, verses 28 through 31. And if you want extra Bibles, there are extra Bibles in the plastic tote there. Do you not know? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He will not grow tired or weary, and his understanding no one can fathom. He gives strength to the weary and increases the power of the weak. Even youths grow tired and weary, and young men stumble and fall. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. So what do those verses say about faith? What faith looks like and what effect faith can have on us? What did you hear? What does faith do? What can it do for us? Maybe you never get weary. I don't know, maybe it's just me. I really like those verses.
Yeah.
Maybe you never stumble and fall. Maybe it's just me.
No, it makes you get up again and keep going.
Makes you get up again and keep going. And that's many things that we mentioned earlier, to keep going. Even when you stumble or life knocks you down, both things happen. Faith can help you get back up, pick you back up, and help give you a push to keep going.
I think faith, legitimate faith, gives us purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes us keep going.
Yeah.
That's what makes us get up,
Mm-hmm.
because we have that purpose
Yeah. that
drives from the heart out.
Yeah.
To me, that's part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a meaning to it. It's not simply that the coffee that I drink in the morning gets me up and helps me move.
Does help.
It does. But it doesn't necessarily give me meaning.
No, it doesn't.
And that faith that kind of helps you see the purpose, the meaning, the deepness, the depth of what you're doing in your life and others' lives. As I was listening to those verses, I was thinking like of the scenes that we saw. Young men stumbling and falling as bullets were being fired, as bombs were going off. They were growing tired and weary, but like Desmond Doss, he put his hope in the Lord, and his strength was renewed in ways that no one would think a person's strength could be.
Something that was said, great beliefs produce great actions. And I think if we have that legitimate faith, sometimes we conjure up maybe or think we've defined what faith is, but like he exhibited, it does produce action. It goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
I thought that's a pretty good
Yeah.
statement to make.
Yeah. You'll often hear me call it holy strength. Not just kind of normal strength to do what you got to do, like not just coffee strength, but holy strength. Yeah. To run and not grow weary, to walk and not be faint. Let's look at Psalms chapter 91, verses 1 through 2 and 9 through 12. It says, "He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High God will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. So if you make the Most High your dwelling, even the Lord who is my refuge, then no harm will befall you. No disaster will come near your tent. For He will command His angels concerning you, to guard you in all your ways. They will lift you up in their hands so that you will not strike your foot against a stone." So I'm going to challenge us a little bit tonight because we read those verses in worship like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And my great mom, who watches our worship videos, our live stream every Sunday, she called me up and had some follow-up questions about those verses. You remember they say things like, if you make the Most High your dwelling, no harm will befall you, no disaster will come near your tent, you won't strike your foot against a stone. And my mom said, well, those verses sound really nice. My mom, just so you know, lifelong Christian, has worked and served in churches, dad was a pastor, a whole nine yards. So she said, well, how do you hear those verses while at the same time remember that people lost their homes in the hurricane and that families drowned in the hurricane? There was one Marshall University student who had 11 family members die in the hurricane. So how do you read those verses? If you make the Most High God your dwelling, no harm will befall you. To not strike your foot against a stone, no disaster will come near your tent. And my mom said, well, what about my friends and my students who were shot and killed by an assault rifle 2 years ago? So how can faith help us during terrible times like that can happen and that do happen? What is the part that faith can play? What is the part that faith should play or shouldn't play?
I have something that I was thinking of. I don't know if it's exactly what you want, but it's that same thing that comes to me often. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not to your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct your path. So that's something that made a difference in me in my younger life.
How did it make a difference for you?
Well, I have parents that were good Christians. I went to church, I had friends. But then, from time to time, things would happen, and I wondered why those things happened. But my dad, being a great Christian man, would often say, you know, you're hurting, and there's some reason for this, and we've already gone to the doctor, but the thing that you need to know is, we love you, God loves you, you'll be fine.
Oh,
So I really appreciate that. He didn't say everything in those words, but that's what I got from it.
I really like that, Deanna. And I kind of remind myself of that principle, like when I go and visit people in the hospital or in hospice care. I'm not a doctor of medicine. I don't have magic words that will take away their pain and condition. So what am I doing there? Well, what could I possibly bring into that room? And it's both nothing, but also the most important truth is that we love you, God loves you. It will be okay. Okay looks different sometimes, but at the end of the day, there's no bigger, more powerful truth than that the creator of heaven and earth loves you, and I love you. And we pray for you. And things will be okay.
I hear the verse, I hear more of the taking care of the soul, not the body.
Taking care of the soul, protecting, a nurturing of the soul, not so much the physical body. Yeah. How so? What would that be like? What would it feel like? What would it look like?
My body is only existing right now in this world, but my soul will continue on, and
Yeah.
looking over that piece, the part that continues.
Yeah, and I like that you said that because it helps me give new meaning to the verse, if you make the Most High your dwelling. We can do that with our souls, starting now and forever. If we believe that our spirit, our soul is more than, the skin that's on our bones. Yeah, Jan.
Tom Lawrence and I have been married not very long, and a friend of mine got very, very sick. And I was reading the Bible verse that you just shared, and I said, okay, Dr. Lawrence, then why is my friend so sick and dying? She's given her whole life and to believe in God and on and on. And he said, well, my friend, he said, man is an animal, and as an animal, man is susceptible to disease. That's not God's doing. And he said, and it makes God sad too, but he said those things happen because of that. But as this gentleman has said, but the soul of man, it goes beyond that.
Yeah.
So every time I'm in a position, and have been for the last 42 years, with a friend who's very sick, I think back to what Tom Lawrence said to me.
Yeah.
And it helps me to understand that.
Those are really good words. That's the truth. It reminds me of the verse in Psalms, my flesh and even my heart are weak, and they will fail. But God is the strength of my heart. So our heart, our soul, our spirit God, the eternal creator of heaven and earth, can sustain us in that way. It doesn't say in Psalms, my flesh and heart are weak and they fail, but God is the strength of my heart and also my flesh, so I won't get sick and die, and neither will my loved ones. It doesn't say that. And one of the powerful messages of Ash Wednesday, when we had our Ash Wednesday service a few weeks ago, is a reminder that we are fragile, temporary creatures in our bodily forms. And so what did I say to everyone who came up to receive a blessing from me that night? I had the nerve, I had the gall to tell you that you are simply like dust, and to dust you will return, but just your body. If we can let our spirit dwell in the eternity of the Most High God, then that strength will sustain us these days and forever. When I was talking with my mom on the phone as I was driving home from church, and already really tired, here she was asking these hard questions. Oh gosh, it's cutting into my rest time. I thought of the verses that Deanna just quoted for us. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. And I told my mom, I said, you know what, we were thinking about those verses a few weeks ago because those were Desmond Doss's favorite verses. And we asked, what's it a trust in? Like trust in the Lord, okay, but what's it a trust of? What does that trust look like? And we said a few weeks ago, certainly Desmond and all the soldiers in his company could not trust that they would survive the day, because many of them did not. They couldn't trust that they would not get wounded, because many of them were. You've known people who have died too soon, had family members to die too soon. So we can't trust or assume that if we just have enough faith, maybe if we can get it a little higher, then bad things won't happen to us or the people that we like. That's not something we can trust in. But we can trust that if we do trust in the Lord and let the Most High God be our dwelling place where our spirit dwells, then God will direct our paths so that however many days we have on this earth, they will be the most fruitful and the most beautiful and the most helpful. So I hope you could hear the belief and the action and how both are important. Well, let's go ahead and stop there. And I encourage you throughout the rest of this week to think about your own faith, whatever that may be. Use the prompting questions on the handout and think about how Desmond's faith inspired other people. He wasn't trying to inspire people, he was just trying to help people. He just wanted to protect his fellow soldiers from dying. But just by being himself, he inspired people. So let that happen with you this week. Go in peace to love and serve the Lord.